So let's start with Christos, because you have been on these weight loss jabs now for over 2 years. You've lost a heck of a lot of weight. How much have you lost?
I just hit about 6 stone the other day.
Wow. Wow.
So, but I'd got really, really big. And I've struggled all my life with it. I've spoken many times on these shows. I've gained and lost 100 stone in my life through yo-yoing, up and down, up and down, up and down.
I mean, I could nod and pretend I haven't done it myself, or I could just acknowledge I've done exactly the same. So I really do know how
and
it
this
feels.
sort of attitude of stuffing yourself, starving yourself, and nothing in between.
Yes.
And what it's done, it's changed my life for the better, because it's got rid of, a lot of people talk about food noise. It's got rid of a lot of that.
Explain what food noise is to people who don't quite get it.
It constantly being on your mind, and you're either constantly thinking about food because you're trying not to eat it, or you're constantly thinking about food because you're eating too much of it, and constantly laying in bed at night stressing because I'm thinner and don't want to gain it, or constantly stressing that I've got too fat and I've got to lose it.
Yes.
And what it's done is, I mean, I've done it, I think, a little differently to other people, because I have seen people that have done it who haven't consulted their doctor, have decided to go on the jab, they haven't worked out, they've lost a load of weight in a couple of months. You can tell by the way that they look that they've not done it, I think, in the healthiest way. I've done it over a very long period. I've still enjoyed treats. You know, I've eaten really what I like, but just less of it. I've worked out consistently at least 3 times a week, doing weights for that 2 years. I'm stronger than I've been in years. So because I didn't want it to be a quick fix that I would then do exactly what I've done before as soon as I stopped taking it, like with a crash diet. As soon as you stop, you gain it all back again.
What happened to me? I'd lose the weight, it'd be in every magazine, it'd be well done, Vanessa, really fantastic. I'd feel great, walk into any old shop, buy a pair of jeans in a size 12, think, oh God, I really am aren't I fabulous? And then I'd celebrate with a piece of pie, a piece of cake, a bit of strudel, some chocolate mousse, and within about, honestly, it looked like 3 weeks. It had all just piled straight back on again.
Did you find as well, which I used to, that I would get slim and I would almost be more unhappy because I was so scared that I would gain it back, that it was almost more stressful than just saying to yourself, I'll just be fat.
Do you remember when Oprah Winfrey wheeled in that cart with all the lard on it, that was how much weight she'd lost? And she said, I think by that afternoon, she'd already put on half a stone.
Yeah.
Because she'd had a big lunch to celebrate and all of that kind of thing. Let's bring Nicola in on this. I mean, obviously there was a stage when you were glamour modelling and your figure was your fortune and you're absolutely cracking, you still look gorgeous. Have you ever had an issue with weight?
Yeah, so I'm a recovering anorexic, and I'll be honest, I still do suffer with bulimia. It's very managed at the minute, but it's one of the ones I can't kick it, if I'm really honest. The anorexia, I went down to under 6 stone after I had my second child. I wasn't eating anything. I'd weigh myself even after having water. And then I would throw everything up that I did consume, even water. I ended up in a really bad way. And as I say, the bulimia, I think, it's an OCD as well. So it's like when things get stressful in my life, it's my go-to.
I think the late Princess Diana said exactly the same, didn't she? When things were really closing in on her and it felt like the whole world was. Yeah. That was her coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's definitely my coping mechanism.
So your view of weight loss jabs must be very different from lots of other people's, Nicola.
So what I think about them is I think they're fantastic, and obviously you're proof that they are, and if they're done well and they're done correctly, they're so good. But I managed to get one over Instagram, and I was doing it. And for someone who obviously has a mental health illness with eating disorders, it's absolutely the wrong thing for me to be doing.
Right.
I should never have been given it. I lied to get it, but I should never have been given it. So I feel like if it's more readily available on the NHS, then we can stop going down the dark route of getting them. And if I'd have gone to my GP and said, oh, I feel like I need... they would have maybe been able to say, Nicola, where are you at the minute with your eating disorder?
They would. If you went to a GP,
exactly.
A doctor would say, let's measure your BMI.
Yeah.
You're not eligible for it, I'm afraid.
And
you
let's
wouldn't have been able to get it.
Let's help where you are mentally.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Why didn't you? What stopped you going to your doctor?
Because I knew I wouldn't get one. I knew I wouldn't get one. I wanted one. And unfortunately, with any active addiction, you will manipulate to get what you want.
And tell me something, when you were actually taking the jabs, did you feel that the food noise, as Cristo describes, went away?
Yeah, and that is one thing. And I think even my husband, who has been really great over my eating disorder, he understands the food noise. He doesn't have it, but he understands it. When I've also had slimming pills from the black market. I've done everything that you could possibly have done to lose weight. And when you get that disconnect and you stop thinking about food, it's so nice. Yeah. It's so nice. So to be able to have that for a month was amazing, but I was very sick, and you know, my husband ended up throwing it in the bin. He was like, this is no good for you. But the food noise, when you don't have that, it's just so freeing.
And I want to talk to Anthea about this, because you're somebody who has managed to be slim all these years. I have no idea how much effort it's been for you, or whether it hasn't really, or whether you come from a slim family. I just don't know, actually, even though I know you well. But lots and lots of people in our industry of showbiz and TV and are busily on the old Wegovy and Ozempic, aren't they? And it's almost become a kind of normal thing to see people on it.
It has, which I think is quite frightening. I completely agree with Nicola and also you that the fact it going on the NHS and that people can get it and they're not going to be judged. Yeah. I think that's the thing. You need to be able to go somewhere and not be judged, and there's too much judgment about all of this. It worries me about the whole headline, it's a great cure for cancer. These are only cancers that are related to obesity. That's the way I read it.
Although
the headline
there are
was
many,
somewhat
many
different.
cancers are related to obesity. Breast cancer is one. I think prostate cancer is another. So if you lose weight on the jabs and they also help you not, form cancer cells, how great is that? That's a win-win, isn't it?
I don't have the noise.
Yeah. Oh, you don't?
I don't know what it's like to have the noise. It's always very difficult to have conversations like this because I don't understand, like your husband, I don't understand it. But all I want is for people to be able to eat healthily. And I think you are the perfect example of somebody who has been responsible about it.
Thank you.
And you've done it slowly, and you're also doing it with thought. You haven't done this to go on a holiday and look better.
And that's exactly it. And also the irony is, having sort of struggled and having had, which I've recovered from, and I was fully recovered before I went on the jab of eating disorders myself years ago. Ironically, it's that guilt that is the noise that you have to try and get rid of. That's the guilt of having eaten something too much.
Oh, that guilt. I know about that.
Drives that. And the irony of this, which going back to your point of saying it's been responsible, is actually you have to reconcile yourself with having treats and say, you know what, I'm going to have a burger and I might not eat as much of it, and I'm not going to then think I'm going to have 10 burgers afterwards, or I'm going to have some chocolate, but I'm not going to eat 20 bars, and saying, it's fine, I've had that, it's done, and tomorrow is going to be a healthy day as well. And it's sort of that resetting and having that outlook rather than all or nothing, which I think a lot of people suffer from when it comes to their food addiction, which is what it is.
Does anyone think it's really the most terrible shame that so many of our lives are completely consumed with weight, either losing it, gaining it, losing it and gaining it, feeling unhappy, judged, guilty, bad, sad, all the things because you had an extra donut or an extra piece of pie, whatever it is, when there are so many more important things. I feel as if my life has been, consumed by it in such a bad and sad way, such a shame.
But unfortunately, we are consumed by seeing food everywhere. Yeah. It is a constant. Every high street you walk down, you can smell the chicken shops, the pizzas.
And also, when I was in therapy for anorexia, they said a really thing that I thought was really poignant. It's like, don't get me wrong, alcohol addiction, horrendous, drugs, horrendous. But you don't have to drink, or you don't have to. You have to eat. Yeah. You have to eat to survive.
Such a good point.
So, being able to manage how you eat when you don't have a brain like you, that are like, I just want people to eat healthy. I know how to eat healthy. I'm married to a professional footballer, retired, but, I know about healthy. But food was never my problem. What was going on internally was my problem. I had a fantastic body. I didn't know it at the time. I had it wasn't about how I looked. It was about the self-loathing inside. And being having to learn to manage, being able to eat and eat responsibly to show my children eating responsibly, That's the tricky thing. I don't have to have a glass of wine in the evening, but I do have to have dinner. Do you know what I mean? So it's very hard to learn how to do that.
It's so true. Imagine if you were an alcoholic and they said, right, you can't drink other than a brandy at breakfast, brandy at lunch and a brandy at dinner. That's all you're allowed and you can't have any more than that. You wouldn't be able to do it, but you're absolutely right. You need food to survive. And I think going to your point of shame, it's so seen as, you know, there is an element of self-control,
Well, there'll be
of
people
course,
watching right now who are thinking, oh, for God's sake, listen, eat less, move more.
Yes, of course,
Just eat
absolutely.
less,
But
move more. Don't be ridiculous. Don't big it up. It's not a big deal.
But that's
Other
where
people
it's
can do it. Rev up your self-respect. Rev up your self-discipline.
It's a
You know,
mental
stop
health.
banging on about it.
It's
You know,
mental-
it's kind of a shame that these people can't see what it's like inside you and inside
because
you.
it's medicating yourself. If you were to medicate yourself with alcohol to the point where it was affecting your life and your health, or drugs, or gambling, or shoplifting, people would say, oh, you need help and it's beyond your control. But when it's food, people say, oh, well, actually, no, you're just a greedy guts.
Or they think it's vanity. For me, everyone thought it was a vanity thing, where actually, you know, I looked like an old woman. I was under 6 stone. I could barely get up off the sofa. I was
Tell me
wasting
what was going on in your head when you were so tiny and thin and frail and weak, and you're still thinking, I must bring up that water. I can't keep it in my belly. What was happening in your head?
At that point, I just become so obsessed with the numbers on the scales.
Right.
So it became for me, it became like I always say I had like two voices, my sane brain, and then they call it an ana brain, an anorexic brain. And she would say to me, you don't need to eat that, you don't need to eat that. And I'd go, no, I don't need to eat that. And then I'd be like, no, Nicola, you're so ill, you can't, just eat. And she'd go, don't eat. And then I'd get on the scales and I'd see under 6 stone. I'd be like, I'm winning.
All right, I think we've been very honest about this, and I thank you very much indeed.